Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today it's volume 17 of our Switch Gem series. Here I keep things simple. I break down 5 games, I tell you why I like them, and I tell you who out there might enjoy them too. Basically, so you can add them to the library or even just simply put them on the wish list so you can grab them during that next sale. Now volumes 1 through 16, they are of course live over on the channel right now, so I will link that playlist at the end of this video. That way if you're new here, you can go ahead and take a look because we've covered a ton of just hidden gems and even the occasional obvious title too. So with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So with the current resurgence of the beat 'em up, there's no better time to talk about one of my recent favourites, and that is the Ninja Savior's Return of the Warriors. This side-scrolling beat 'em up, it was once an arcade cabinet and then a SNES release, but now we have a rebuild, and I gotta say we have a version that is for sure worthy of your time. The cabinet for this thing was insane. It combined 3 screens, and what I've never seen it, physically personally, photos just make it look incredible. While story is, simple, understandably, take down a big bad boss by the name of Bangla and his henchmen, it's the gameplay you're coming for. Where this one separates itself from the pack is the fact there's no up and down movement. This is literally side to side only, one plane, and that is it. And it will kind of remind you of a 1v1 fighter if that 1v1 fighter was throwing wave after wave of enemy at you. Now with the choice of 3 characters to start with and more to unlock, all with their own distinct styles, 8 levels to overcome, online ranking, and then local co-op play for up to 2 players, there is a lot to like here. For me though, it's gotta be that gameplay. The controls are really smooth and the different movesets between these 3 characters, they are varied, which is always nice when so often they can feel so similar. Really enjoyed this one though. The pixel art is stunning. It has reasons for you to come back, think extra difficulties, a timed mode, almost like speedrun appeal to it, and then also the soundtrack. It's out there a little bit, but for sure really interesting and unique. Now like any fighter, don't expect this one to last too long, but I've played it multiple times, and if you ask me right now, you want to play like Ninja Saviors, I will be the first one to say yes. It even got a limited physical release, which I picked up personally, and then it did end up going onto a wider release, which you can now pick up on Amazon. Just know with this one, if you're thinking of, adding it to the wish list, it's not once seen a sale since release, but of course we can hope. Well worth the investment though for those of you out there that want a side-scrolling beat 'em up with a twist. Alright, so puzzle fans, a more modern release now, but Superliminal is honestly the perfect example of simply an idea gameplay that is absolutely unique in its approach to the challenge it provides. Here we're getting a puzzle game that is built around just one core concept, that is forced perspective. Now I picked this one up a little after launch, and I gotta say I regret not going day one with it. Here though, it's 3 AM, you fall asleep with the TV on, and the last thing you remember, it's a glimpse of a commercial on TV from one Dr. Pierce, and it's basically they're doing a dream therapy program. Waking up, you are now somehow part of this program and you must escape. If forced perspective or optical illusions are your thing, then you've just probably found your new favorite game. It's incredibly challenging at times, but it's one of those that once you solve it, it feels so obvious you almost kind of beat yourself up over it. As the game puts it though, think outside the box to wake from this dream, and rarely is a description so true. The story is intriguing, which really helps with those more challenging moments where you want to give up. The brain power required is real, and visually, I gotta say, it's a beautiful looking game where yes, on the surface it's clean and sharp, but it almost becomes a character in the game as you feel there is always something just, watching and waiting. Incredibly fine-tuned experience where the only game I would maybe compare this to on the Switch would be Manifold Garden, another near masterpiece I discussed in an earlier volume. Not been out long this one, so rarely do we see a sale, but wishlist or just buy away. Either way, if you like puzzles, I doubt you will be disappointed. So with the release of Disc Room this week on the Switch, or at least at the time of recording, I want to talk about their other game Minit, because this is an absolute gem and a half. While the graphics, they might be basic, it's the gameplay that just absolutely elevates this one to an incredible level. Honestly as well, graphics, they might be basic, but I can see and did find the charm in them. This is kind of a roguelike. The reason it's called Minit though is it's played in 60-second bursts. You start in your home, you journey outside, and like old school Zelda in a top top-down fashion. You take on, quests, helping folks out while also battling it out. 60 seconds later, you die, you start again. The whole story idea here is you're cursed to die every 60 seconds, and now you need to figure out how to stop that from happening. Fortunately though, you do keep your progression, I will give it that much. Now as you do continue to progress, you'll open up new locations to start your run at, and this is seriously unique, and I can see why Devolver picked this one up, because it captures so many qualities, from the strong controls to the simplistic idea that is at times just panic inducing. Really enjoyed this one, the puzzles are fun, the idea is unique as I said, and the writing absolutely solid. Haven't seen a sale on this one in a while, but with Disc Room dropping, if not now, maybe add it to the wish list, because I for sure think it could happen again soon enough. This is also another one I like so much, I picked up a physical copy from one of actually my favourite limited print companies, Special Reserve Games, and that's mainly because they seem to get the majority of the Devolver digital catalogue. So our penultimate game this week, and I'm going for a shmup, Sine Mora EX. Sine Mora is a game I own on the Vita, the PlayStation 4, and now also the Nintendo Switch. It got a physical release on the Switch too, but I swear this one still goes underappreciated, and it really shouldn't. The average selling price for this one physical right now on eBay, $15, and what a great way to spend that sort of cash. Not only visually is it beautiful to look at, but it's just a solid example of the genre. This one, it's a side-scrolling shooter that for sure is more welcoming than most in the genre, but it still knows when to pile that pressure on and drive you to, the edges of your ability. With a ton of modes, so think story mode, challenge mode, co-op play, and high score chasing, there is a lot to like. Throw in then a ton of boss moments that are seriously impressive, a great soundtrack, and a ton of weapon combinations. I would suggest this to any fan of the genre, or maybe even those that want to take a first step into the shmup world. One thing I know though, addiction is for sure guaranteed, and I would say with this one, look for a physical copy because it is cheaper than the eShop price most of the time. It occasionally goes on sale, but it's been a while since I've seen this one drop. Alright, so our last game of the week, and I want to highlight this one, but Five Bastards is a game that I gave a 6 out of 10 to on the channel. At the time I had issues with its frame rate, and still do, but I don't know. Even with that, I've revisited it near to non-stop since release, and I continue to go back to this day, so clearly it's the game for me because the addiction has become real. In fact, I even dropped cash on a physical release just in the last week or so. Whether that means I was too harsh in my review or I'm simply willing to look past the issues, I don't know, but the persistence, this is an incredibly unique game that should appeal to a lot of you out there. This first person shooter is a roguelike, meaning when you die it is back to the beginning. The idea here though is you are part of a prison ship and you are now out to navigate the vast nebula and get to safety because you've basically, for lack of a better term, broken down. Sadly for you though, you are also an expendable prisoner, meaning they don't exactly equip you well for the journey. You die, no problem, they'll just grab a new prisoner. Basically here you're going to navigate a star chart though and raid surrounding ships for supplies and fuel, but you gotta watch out now for all sorts of mutant monsters and space pirates. The game though is stunning to look at even with those frame rate issues. The weapons are unique, the gameplay fast while still demanding you use that brain of yours, and perhaps the most impressive and unique element of it all, it's the characters you get to control. They are all completely different. My favourite ones so far, there was a dude that screamed every time he found loot, announcing himself to enemies, a woman who was incredibly tall, giving you a different perspective on the location, and then a colourblind character who saw everything in black and white. Seriously weird, but in the best possible way, and while I didn't give it the best score at the time, I think this is well worth a look if the Switch is your go-to console of choice. This is another one that's never been on sale since release, so if you're thinking of waiting, it could basically take a while. Sometimes though, frame rate, performance, all that jazz, it isn't the end of a game's worth, and this is a prime example of just that, or at least it has been for me. And that's it, another week down. Have you played any of these, or will you be adding any of them to your, wish list or even library? As always then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.